All right, so now we go. These games are a little bit more entertaining. Now we go into the games where I didn't help him at all. We went to like a coffee shop and we played a couple games, right? So I started on the white pieces. And we went into a Rui Lopez. My goal here was to play different openings against him and maybe have him intuit the proper responses to a lot of these openings. So he plays bishop c5, which is like the classical defense of the Rui Lopez. This is like what grandmasters have been playing for a long time. I play c3, looking for a d4 expansion, and then he goes d6. And by the way, the most common move in this position, the move GM would play is knight to f6, just eyeing this pawn, right, as a counterattacking mechanism to this, which would weaken that. But d6 allows this move, and this is quite bad for black center, because if this happens and bishop b6, d5, attacking the pinned knight with a pawn. And the only way, because normally the refutation for this would be a6 and then b5 to parry the bishop away from pinning, but this bishop is in the way of the pawn going to b5, so this doesn't work. So the only way to avoid losing a piece here is to play bishop to a5 check, bishop to d2, bishop takes d2, and then a6 and b5. Yeah, this is the only way. And then white would take, right? And black would take, yes. This is pretty convoluted, but for some reason I didn't see that, and I guess this is not a surprise after I effed that up. Castles. Sort of letting him consolidate his position by attacking my bishop, which he doesn't do. And this is an instructional moment. This d6, d5 thing is an instructional moment because the reason why this is bad is that you committed the pawn to d6 already, getting this structure. Why would you waste another tempo to push a pawn one more square and then blunder this pawn with a pressure on the pin? Like, there's no need. You committed your pawn to d6. Why did you waste the tempo to push it up? So he takes, and I take, hitting the queen. Obviously, you just have to cut your losses and lose your rook for a bishop here. But he kind of overthinks it a little bit and goes queen to d7. And I do not find the best response to this. The best response to this is queen a4, because after takes, the pin is still active. But I play knight takes a7, and I thought I was being super smart here, because I was like, oh, the knight defends the bishop, which is pinning this. But he finds the only defense to break the pin, which is c6. And now I drop the bishop back to c4, and that is a terrible move, because I was calculating this knight c8 thing. But what I was kind of struggling with was, how am I going to get my knight out of here after that trade? And it turns out the way to do that is you can't play d4 because of en passant, right? So b4. And the bishop either has to go back to these squares and volunteer itself to the knight, or go here and blunder a fork of rook and queen. I did not see that, and instead played bishop c4 and just allowed him to simply recapture my knight. So queen to h5. This is a very wild move. I sort of pressure this and also attack the bishop on the side of the board. And he goes rook to a5. And folks, this is about to get wild. You hear me? I completely blundered the entire game away by playing the move pawn to b4. And he is my uncle is completely winning in this position if he notices the fact that the queen is x-ray attacked through the bishop by the rook and plays bishop takes h2 or f2, because it's a check forcing me to recapture, and he picks up the queen. But folks, chess is brutal, because you want to see what happens to the eval bar after this move that he plays. Pawn to g6, and it is now +7 for white, because the move pawn to g6 opens up a fork of king and rook, which I play. He blocks with the knight, forcing a loss of 2 pieces. He blocks with the bishop, and I take the rook. I am now up 14 points of material. I escape near death with a boatload of loot, right? Like, this is... I got really lucky. And now he even plays b5 and allows me to en passant. Oh no, things are getting very bad for black here. Queen to e7, and I play bishop to a3, supported by the knight attacking the queen, and when the queen moves, this falls with a double attack. There's no way to keep it defended. But he plays bishop to e6. He told me he confused his diagonals and didn't realize I was attacking his queen. And he takes the bishop on c4, attacking the rook. Queen takes f8 check, forcing king to d7. b7, about to promote, and for some reason he doesn't take the rook and he goes bishop to d3. Like, I'm not really sure what the point of that move was. But instead, I could have promoted and made a queen here, and it would be mate imminently with the following combination. But instead, I decide to troll a little bit, and I promote to a knight with check. And the game is extended a little bit. King to e6, I take the pawn, he plays this, I fork, and then I take the bishop. King e5, d4 check, basically forcing en passant to open up the e-file for a rook check. King there. Queen c8 check, the same idea from earlier, that literally would have given me checkmate way earlier. King f4, and I play h3, setting up an unstoppable queen g4 mate. He can delay it, but he cannot stop it. He delays it by playing h5, controlling the square, so I go here, just waiting, because his king has no legal moves, so he has to move one of these pawns and soften up the square again, right? At some point he does. So f6, bishop takes f6, he's running out of pawns. G5, g3 check, forcing the king down, and this knight, which hasn't moved for the whole game, moves for the first time and delivers the kiss of death. Knight to d2 is checkmate. And I thought I just played a really good game in that game, but I completely didn't see that I would have completely lost to the game after b4 if he found the correct response. And now we make it to the final game. This is the final game. No help, he is on the white pieces this time. And without warning him beforehand, I play the Caro-Kann defense. This is my opening. I sort of wanted to see if he could intuit the proper move. Knight to c3 is a great move. d5, queen to e2. This is a very obscure line. And I take the pawn. And now apparently the right move here, I never face this. This is why I don't know. d4, and this is kind of like a Vienna Gambit-esque idea where you take away all of the knight squares because if it goes here, you trap it. So it would have to go back here or here. So d takes e4. He takes back with a queen, allowing me to develop with tempo. He goes back to d3, offering a queen trade. I decline the queen trade by going knight b to d7, blocking the contact between the queens and also developing the knight. Bishop to e2, e6. I don't know why I didn't just take the full center. There's literally nothing stopping me. I don't know. But the Caro-Kann is about compact and quick development, so I guess that's probably why I did that. Knight f3, bishop e7, and you can see the goals of both sides. We're trying to eventually castle. Like, this is incredible what is happening right now. He has only played 3 other games of chess before this, and he is holding even with me. Black is a little bit better, but he is holding even with me here. The reason black is better is because this queen blocks the pawn coming forward and developing this. That's pretty much white's only weakness, right? Like, white doesn't have any other problems. Rook e8, just getting the rook to an open file, maybe looking for this same rotation from a couple other games ago. b4, grabbing space on the queen side. Queen c7. The purpose of queen c7 is to free up the d-file for the rook to go if the queen is still there, and also to maybe build a battery here at some point, and to be able to move this knight without him being able to trade queens. So he plays g3, and I play knight to f8 looking for a reroute. What I should have done in this position was b5, and what b5 does is it basically stops anything that he wants to do on the queen side. It shuts out this battery, it shuts out the knight, it shuts out a4, because after a4 I just play a6. That would just shut down whatever he wanted to do over there. But instead, I go knight f8, and he plays rook to b1. Rook b1, rook b1. Like, I don't really know what that move is for. Rook d8. And at this point, he had to go take a call or something, and he played b5. Right before that, blundering the queen, and after this, we picked back up. Bishop takes d3, bishop d7, just getting the bishop off the back rank, attacking the pawn with 2 pieces, this pawn. Bishop to e2, just freeing up the d pawn, and getting like this, right? Knight g6, rotating the knight, d3, and I take the pawn, opening up an attack on the knight. Pretty sneaky, and he does not do it. I could have taken this, and then taken this, but, like, to be honest, I didn't see it. Rook to b3 attacks, and then queen c6 just goes out of danger. I don't know why I didn't take this pawn. I might have been a little tired, you know. It happens to everyone. Knight d4 attacks the queen. Queen d5. a4 just leaves the knight on pre, or hanging, if you will. Bishop to e3. And here, and I had like a mini heart attack here, because if this rook was protected, this would trap the queen, basically. But it's not, so I could just take it. I had like a mini heart attack for 2 seconds, thinking that that was not, that was protected, and then I lose my queen, but it wasn't. So he plays rook fb1, just doubling up and attacking my pawn with 2 pieces. I go rook c8, attacking the weak pawn. Bishop c1, I don't entirely know what the purpose of that move is. I just take here. He attacks my rook, and I just get unnecessarily fancy here. I'm like, ooh, if I sacrifice my rook, he will have to take, and I will take this. But I didn't realize the bishop would be defending that. So I sack my rook for no reason. And then I get another unnecessarily fancy urge to play knight g4. And I didn't even notice that the queen defended the knight here, so I was like, oh, he's going to take me, and I'm going to take the rook. Oh my god, I'm so smart. But he doesn't. He plays rook b2, and I go here, pressuring this, attacking the rook. h3 attacks my knight, so I take the rook. Rook c2 attacks my queen. I pin the bishop, and he cannot go here, because if he goes there, there's bishop b4, evicting him from that square. I take the bishop, bishop c6 check, and I do something extremely unnecessary here. I play the move queen to h1 check, forcing the king to take. So I would fork the king and the rook and get into this endgame. This is completely unnecessary, because I just push my a pawn up the board and then checkmate in 3 moves. Like, why did I have to do that? Why did I feel the need to be fancy? But anyway, I may keep you guys updated with future videos on how the training is going. But yeah, these are the first 4 chess games that me and my uncle have played. You can already see the progress. But anyways, I will see you for the next video. Bye-bye.